So welcome, I'm Ron Fleming, a certified leadership coach, and today I'd like to talk with you about leadership coaching. And I've asked Shannon Trilly, a leader that I've worked with, to join me for this conversation to talk about what leadership coaching has been like for her.
Well, there were two major factors that led to me really seeking a coach. The first was I was a relatively young manager who was just given a significant promotion. And while I was thrilled with the opportunity, I was a bit overwhelmed with what it would mean in terms of my own working style and leadership style. And the ambitious part of me wanted to be an excellent leader as quickly as possible. And I knew I would need some support for that.
What was our coaching engagement like for you?
Well, first, in terms of the rhythm of the coaching, I would say we started with you and I talking about my goals, and then you actually meeting with people in my organization, mostly the supervisors and those that had given me the promotion, but also wanted to see me grow. And I think jointly setting those goals and benchmarks and naming the strengths and weaknesses was really helpful to start the journey and refer back to over time. And in terms of the structure of our meetings, generally we would start out with what's happened since last time. So there were really two ways that I thought about work in between. One were things that I could do. Another metaphor we would use was my ability to zoom out of the moment and look at myself from the balcony. And often before I went into meetings that I knew would be challenging or tricky, I would create what I, in my mind, called balcony notes, which were just notes to myself. Often they were about, it would just say tone, so that I would go into the meeting conscious about tone, or it would say posture. As you know, sometimes when you're in a more aggressive space, you start leaning forward and people respond to that, so it would help me lean back. And I also began writing. So if I had a bad experience and I just couldn't unpack why it was bad, I often would just come and jot a few notes on a notepad or on my computer, how I felt in the moment, and I would refer to them just before we would meet to see if in the back of my mind I had really figured out things that felt bad or sometimes things that felt good, but I couldn't always figure out why.
So are you a different leader today than when you started?
There is no question I'm a different leader. I think the main difference would be my aura of calm. I think now I just sit back and laugh. In fact, last week I was somewhere where someone said, "You are just this grounded, anchored person," and I had to laugh because we know that is not always the case and not always true, and never would I have thought that I would have control over my energy to be, I was just going for a neutral presence, but to get affirmation in my new role as someone who is actually a presence of grounding and calm in a deep way. I appreciate it, but I also had to laugh because that is just how far that element of who I am as a leader and person has transformed. And the second reason would be just my ability not to react. I might have only earned, we used to talk about 1 or 2 or 3 seconds of reaction time, but sometimes those few seconds are the difference between forward movement or backward movement, and as a leader, those are important seconds.